Welcome to the deep dive. We dig into your sources, find the connections, and really uncover the story behind the story. And today, we're diving headfirst into the, let's call it the pressure cooker of Formula One. We're looking at what seems like a masterpiece of, well, strategic deception. Okay, so here's our mission. We've got these detailed accounts, right? And they show how Adrian Newey, probably the biggest design name in F1, basically told a deliberate lie to the press. But this wasn't about tricking rivals on track. No, this was purely internal. A calculated move to speed up a key hire and, light a fire under his own team at Aston Martin. It's all about using public noise for internal gain.
Yeah, it really makes you ask, okay, was this a genuine five-alarm fire inside the team? Or was it something much, much smarter, a strategic play? And the sources pretty much confirm it's the second one, which flips the whole narrative, doesn't it? It's less about panic, more about incredibly shrewd management. Okay, let's unpack this, because this is fascinating strategy.
Right. Let's rewind. Monaco Grand Prix. Just a few months back. That's where it all kicks off. Newey's talking to the media, and he starts off singing praises, Talks about the new wind tunnel, calls it spectacular, even says it's surely the best in F1 right now, buttering them up first.
Which is smart, right? You establish credibility, say something positive, makes the negative hit even harder.
Exactly. Because straight after the wind tunnel praise, bam, he switches tracks completely, focuses on what he calls out as a massive weakness, the simulator. He says their development tools, some of them are just weak, but he really zeroes in on the simulator program.
Yeah, and he used that key word, correlation, or rather the lack of it.
Correlation.
Yeah.
The magic word in simulation. If your virtual car doesn't match the real car on track,
then your simulator is basically useless. Or worse, it could be actively misleading you. Hours of testing, driver practice, setup work, potentially worthless.
Yeah.
He called it a fundamental development tool. There was a limitation.
Big ouch. And then he drops the hammer. The timeline to fix it.
Mm-hmm. He publicly says getting it right is, and this is the quote, probably a 2-year project.
2 years? I mean, in Formula One time, that's practically geological scale, isn't it?
It's an ice age. It spans entire regulation changes. So when the Adrian Newey says you've got a 2-year hole in a critical area...
Everyone listens. The media certainly did. Reports instantly popped up saying alarms were sounding at Aston Martin. Looked like a proper crisis unfolding based purely on Newey's diagnosis. Gospel truths, supposedly.
And that immediately put the team principal, Andy Cowell, in a tricky spot. He had to come out publicly just days later. And he says he disagreed amicably with Newey, trying to smooth it over, but essentially he's contradicting the genius designer they just hired.
Which itself became a huge story. The star signing versus the team boss, seemingly clashing over the team's core tech. Cowell specifically argued against that timeline. He said, yeah, work's needed, but it's months, not 2 whole years.
So you're sat there thinking, okay, is this real? Is there genuine friction here? How much risk is Newey taking with the team's image, their internal harmony? Most people watching probably thought, yeah, this is a real disagreement, maybe managed carefully, but still a crack showing. Speculation was everywhere.
It definitely had all the hallmarks of a high-stakes internal dispute playing out right in front of everyone. Now, speaking of watching, for those of you tuning into this deep dive on the Dredger Zone channel, thanks for joining us as we try to piece together this F1 strategy puzzle. If you like this kind of analysis, getting behind the headlines, definitely hit that subscribe button now. Don't miss our next deep dive, and yeah, follow the Dredger Zone for all the updates.
Right, so we've got this public drama set up. Newey says 2 years, Cowell says months. Looks like trouble. But then, fast forward a bit, Cowell later reveals the whole truth. Newey's original statement, not just an overstatement, it was a flat-out lie, a calculated trick. I think the Spanish source called it a triquiñuela, basically, a strategic masterpiece of manipulation aimed squarely at his own team.
Wait, hang on. A complete lie. He knowingly told the entire F1 press pack something that wasn't true, about a 2-year delay.
Knowingly, strategically, deliberately. Cowell actually described the moment just after that press interview. Newey apparently went up to him privately, as the headlines were probably already starting to fly, and whispered why he did it. He said something like, I just told them it's a 2-year handicap because I know that statement will push the people on the team.
Wow. That's audacious. And the sources say they actually laughed about it together.
They did, which tells you a lot about the trust, the understanding between Newey and Cowell, right? This wasn't insubordination. It was a coordinated play.
So the goal was purely internal motivation.
Yeah.
Use the shame, the pressure of a public failing.
Exactly. Use the media spotlight, the fear of this massive 2-year deficit to basically kickstart the simulator team into overdrive. He manufactured a public crisis to drive internal change, not to alert rivals, but to push his own people harder and faster.
Okay, the million-dollar question then. Did this crazy trick actually work?
According to Cowell, yes, absolutely. He confirmed Newey's words had the desired effect. Apparently, the simulator staff initially took the comments badly. I mean, you would, wouldn't you? Hearing your work is holding the team back for 2 years.
Yeah, that's gotta sting badly.
But then they reacted exactly as Newey predicted, or maybe hoped. They doubled down, started working even harder.
So the pressure worked, and now
the team is reportedly pressing hard on making the simulator, the whole cockpit environment, much more representative. Yeah. They basically turned the fictional crisis into real accelerated progress, shortened that imaginary 2-year timeline down significantly.
That's brilliant in itself. But you mentioned something else, a secondary motive, something more personal for Newey.
Yes, this is maybe the most genius part. By creating this huge public fuss about the simulator, this undeniable, urgent problem, Newey basically guaranteed he'd get the resources and, crucially, the approval for a major strategic hire. Think about it. Normally, bringing in a top-level director is a big process. Requires justification, budget.
But if your legendary designer has just told the world you're 2 years behind because of this specific area, suddenly, hiring an expert seems not just sensible, but absolutely critical, like yesterday.
Precisely. It greased the wheels. Newey needed someone he trusted to fix the simulator issue, right? So he could step back and focus on the really big picture, the 2026 car regulations. That's his main job.
And let me guess, the timing fits perfectly.
Like a glove. Shortly after these comments in May lit the fire under the simulator issue. Boom. Aston Martin announces they've hired Gilles Simon.
Gilles Simon, wasn't he head of simulation at McLaren? And Red Bull, too, worked with Newey before.
The very same. A top expert, someone Newey knows and trusts. So Newey creates the crisis, uses it to justify and accelerate, bringing Simon in to handle the simulator.
Freeing himself up to design the next generation car, that is.
Wow. Masterclass doesn't quite cover it.
It really underlines that old saying about F1 being a game of sharks, doesn't it? Every public word, every interview can be part of a bigger game. Deception isn't just possible, it's practically standard operating procedure. Which raises that question about consequences. If you can just, lie publicly about a 2-year technical deficit, and your boss contradicts you, and then it turns out it was all a ploy, what's the downside?
Well, the sources pretty much say, in F1, lying is free. Sail gratis, as one put it. There's really no penalty. Think about team principals. Wolf, Horner. How many times have we heard them flatly deny a driver signing 1 week, only to announce it the next?
Happens all the time. It's almost expected.
Exactly. It's part of managing expectations, maybe misleading rivals, or, like here, motivating your own team. It's seen as strategic maneuvering, not really dishonesty in the normal sense.
So, okay, for us watching, maybe it's a bit frustrating being potentially misled. But for Aston Martin, this kind of aggressive strategic play from Newey, that's actually a huge positive, isn't it? It shows they're willing to play hardball, to use every tool, even media manipulation, to shorten deadlines and accelerate their climb towards fighting for championships. They're adopting the mindset of the top teams.
Absolutely. And the big takeaway here, I think, goes way beyond just F1. It shows Newey isn't just an aerodynamic genius. He's a brilliant organizational psychologist in a way. He understands the levers inside his own team. He knows exactly which buttons to press, even if that button is labeled global media, to get the maximum effort, to get resources flowing instantly where he needs them. It's fascinating insight into high-level management. And maybe the question for you, listening or watching, is this. When you hear about major challenges or weaknesses being declared publicly in any high-stakes field, business, tech, sports, whatever, how often is that statement really for public consumption versus being designed primarily to force an urgent, unavoidable action internally? That's the real art, isn't it? Managing through manufactured crisis.
That is a fantastic thought to end on. What a story. Behind the scenes in F1 is just endlessly fascinating. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. If you enjoyed getting this level of strategic breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the Drawson channel. We really try to unpack the real stories and give you that extra insight. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.